Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And in keeping with our special guests constantly like swinging around, you know, we
gotta lock the door, man.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, hold out.
Or just leave it wide open.
Yeah. And in this case. So we have just like Snuffleupagus and Big Bird. Because for the longest time, everyone on Sesame Street minus Big Bird thought that Snuffleupagus was an imaginary friend. We've always talked about this guy called Imaginary Friend Josh, and fuck it, he's like maybe not imaginary, and he's maybe here.
Nah, he's totally imaginary. I made him up.
Yes, no, I am imaginary. Deal with it.
So that was Josh.
Yeah, that's Josh. So yeah, welcome to our little abode, Mr. Butler.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, tell us a bit about yourself. I mean, you're like Jake's news source when it comes to all things geek these days.
Yeah, man, I don't have to look up anything about Mad Max or Daft Punk or anything because it's brought to my attention right away.
Yeah,
it's
and I don't
24/7 news source.
I don't have to look up anything about Back to the Future or I think Star Wars or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yes, social media is my best friend. I sleep with it.
Well, I mean, there's no...
So it's a best friend with benefits.
Yeah,
definitely.
I don't think there's any laws against that. But yeah, so you finally, like Jake last week, both you and Chris actually have seen the first episode of Powers?
Yes.
Yes.
What did you guys... Let's kind of like... So, Jake, you loved it. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, go ahead and do that.
And also, real quick, I have figured out how to watch it through the PlayStation Network or whatever. Because I was one of those guys. I tweeted out in like desperation after I watched the first episode. Do you need a PlayStation? They had this thing work. I don't know. And Sam and somebody else, I think someone from like the PlayStation like community, like
Sony support.
Yeah, it was like, no, you do not. Just go here. So I've caught up. At the time of this, the 5 episodes have been released, and yeah, it's good stuff. I'm enjoying the show, but I'm interested to hear. Well, I know what Josh feels about the show because we've talked about it with the news source things. We've talked about we can maybe even mention our favorite episode, or because you guys have seen the first episode, we could talk maybe about our favorite moment from that first episode. But I would love to hear, especially what Chris thinks. Chris, take it away.
Well, thank you for that lovely intro. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I kind of went into it. Aside hearing you talk about it last week, I really had no idea about anything regarding it, and I was just like, hey, Eddie Izzard's naked. All right, let's do this.
Yes, you definitely see some butt crack.
Yeah.
And conveniently placed in later episodes, things like Austin Powers style.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
like phallic things, but like a security guard's hand is just, whatever, or like a gun or something.
Yeah.
Now I really want to see the rest of the series.
Yeah, they're good stuff. But
no, it was really good. It was weird hearing an American accent
from Charlton Copley.
Yeah.
He does a good job though. It's not one of those accents that's
he had
like
one in the
forced.
A-Team.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is just
I
a
keep
straight.
forgetting that he's in the A-Team.
He's the best part.
I'm sure he is, but
Well,
like it's I've only seen it once.
It's a like freaking like really fun movie.
Yeah.
And he is like, it'd be like if someone was like, "Hey Jake, you want to be in the new Rocketeer movie?" Because like he was like the biggest A-Team fan like ever.
Well, specifically
Right.
of Howling Mad Murdoch.
Yeah. And
so it was like such like a dream come true, kind of like how David Tennant, huge Doctor Who fan, and of course that's why he got into acting. And flash forward, I think I guess it'd be about 25 years later, and he became because he was
same with Capaldi. He was a huge fan.
Yeah.
Growing up with the classics.
There's like you can see published letters to like fanzines.
That's awesome.
That he had.
It translates too, like on this before. I mean, I can't speak for the Doctor Who stuff, but for the A-Team. Or
Sure.
for Carl Urban for Judge Dredd. He was reading Dredd as a teenager. It shows. There's not to say that if you don't read it, you're not going to give a good performance. Because look at Christopher Reeve. Never read a Superman comic, but I mean, come on.
Yeah. Whereas
Perfect
Henry
look.
Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill.
Huge.
Yeah, he took full advantage of the DC like sending you like basically like here's everything we can we'll give you everything, any questions, here you go, here's like the little booklet.
Well, hadn't he read like The Death and Return of Superman as a kid?
Well, I had always heard that his favorite. Sorry, real quick, we just totally hijacked this conversation.
It's fine.
But
It's cool.
yeah, I know that they had asked him his favorite Superman story, and he said The Death and Return of Superman, which is awesome because like some people who who don't read it are like, yes, the story sucks, but they've never read it. So I mean, if you love a story, like
like
go
people
for it.
that saw Chappie or didn't see.
Yeah,
Chappie.
exactly. But and then also, I remember when he was announced, Man of Steel was going at one of the cons. they asked him like what he one of the guys comes up, he's like, "What are you reading? Like, what have you read?" And he was listing off Superman titles, and I was like, "Yeah." And I remember the biggest response, which was weird but awesome, was Red Sun, and I was like, "Well, that has fuck all to do with Man of Steel."
Yeah,
but
is he going to be Soviet?
Yeah, but he said Red Sun, and people were like, "Yeah, woo, yeah."
I mean, it's because it's a deep cut, you know.
I mean, honestly, that's probably true, and but yeah, and I remember I was going to say Kurt Russell. Russell Crowe was joking that he was going to sell his booklet of Jor-El, not the stuff that DC gave him, because he said, DC or Marvel, whoever, they give you this portfolio of like key issues and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't even open mine or whatever. Or maybe I'll sell it on eBay as a joke or whatever." But back to Powers.
So yeah, it was not remembering that he was in A-Team, and also I didn't really know who he was when I saw A-Team, so it didn't click in, to sink in that this guy was important. But like, so seeing him or hearing him with an American accent was pretty cool, and it seemed so natural and so fluid. I think I did catch the couple times that you were talking about where it sounds like he starts to slip back into his South African. But yeah, it's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
I like the idea. I've always kind of liked the idea of like giving peripheral characters a little bit of a interesting treatment, and this basically is like Gotham. What is it? Gotham Knights or the Gotham PD comic book?
Gotham Central.
Gotham Central. Yeah,
so good. Yeah,
it's kind of like that same idea where you're focusing on this police procedural in this world that just superpowers exist, and it's a cool, compelling, emotional thing that your main character used to be a power, used to have, seemingly, Superman-esque powers.
And I feel like in a lot of like cop fiction, we see like these cops dealing with like addiction problems, like they were in Deep Cover, like in True Detective or The Killing, and but in this case, the addiction is superpowers.
Yeah, and it's an interesting idea of like, I mean, if you had the power of Superman or some kind of flying strength power, like what would it be like to lose that and want it back? Like, would you risk it all to get it back again?
Would you blow a superhero to get his powers?
Probably not.
Does that happen? I haven't actually seen the show.
Well, no, they're called what is it? Wannabes.
Wannabes.
Yeah.
Who sleep with powers and they get like a buzz of a power.
Oh,
yeah. You don't necessarily become a superpowered individual, but you kind of it's almost like getting high.
There's a contact high.
Yeah.
For being with it. But Josh, what are some of your thoughts of episode 1 of Powers?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. Between a brief scene of seeing the main character in his apartment, and then the song Blue Monday start beating in the background, and then open up with the title sequence, I was sold from there immediately.
Yeah.
And I had heard about Powers a few years back before as sort of like cops in a very non-safe-for-work type environment, as people who would investigate crimes committed by people with super abilities, and that sort of drew me to the source material originally. And then hearing they were making a show about it, I was instantly sold on that concept as well. I mean, any sort of visual media of this, I would have dove right into immediately. And see it as a television show, I think is perfect for it.
I mean, it's been in development almost since the comic debuted. Like, in some form or another. I know they were trying, like, FX was looking at it initially. And I don't know if it was like a budgetary thing or if they were just like, you know what, we'll stick with doing stuff like Louis and like nothing but street level stuff.
I mean, it would have worked on a cable network such as FX, or even one of the more high end ones like Showtime
like
or
premium,
HBO.
Yeah, a premium cable channel.
Right.
Which it essentially is on now, a premium internet cable show.
Is there has Sony announced any other original or exclusive TV series?
As far as I know, Powers has been the only one. I know for a while Microsoft was trying to get a studio off the ground.
They're probably using this as like
a litmus test.
Yeah, putting their big toe in the pool, see how cold it is.
Well, I know for a fact that Microsoft's sort of like just shut down and went nowhere, and the fact that Sony has just right out the gate had Powers announced for them, and then just had this phenomenal success. It's just worked out so well for them.
Now, speaking of like web online series, Chris gets a lot of attention for being, I don't know if it's because you're the most vocal or just the most visible community fan.
In most of my circles, I am the guy who is like the community fan. Like whenever any kind of news, like because Dan Harmon makes a lot of news.
Yeah, but I feel like you're not that loud about it.
I'm not anymore. Back like
did you know it's back?
Yeah,
like it's back on you.
Yeah, okay. Oddly enough, I heard about it.
Okay.
Yeah,
just
but like the first 3 seasons, like I was like spreading the gospel of community, and then season 4 kind of didn't do so well.
That was
in
the
my
Harmonless
opinion.
season.
That was the only season without Harmon, and it lost its soul. So I kind of fell off. I still watched it, but like I wasn't religious about it.
You don't own it?
No, I don't own it.
You've gone out of your way not to own it.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, technically, I still don't have season 5 either, but that was more so just because like I wasn't excited about it, like but not like actually like actively like pushing it away. Like as a completionist, eventually I'm sure I'll get seasons 4 and 5, but for now it's like seasons 1 through 3 are my babies, and then 4 and 5 just kind of exist. I mean, 5 definitely better than 4 because they got Harmon back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so season 6 has started on Yahoo now, and they released 2 episodes on St. Patrick's Day, and I ended up staying up late because that's what I do. I stay up late Monday night before St. Patrick's Day, and I was like, oh hey, they've been released. Cool, at like 3 o'clock in the morning because they're on Pacific time.
And those are free on Yahoo, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're free on Yahoo. You don't even need a Yahoo account. Like I was able to just watch them. Like I haven't had a Yahoo account for about 20 years. And like I just opened up Yahoo screen and I was like, oh, hey, they're there. Cool. And I watched them back to back. And I got to say they're actually better than I thought they were going to be. Like I didn't have high hopes for them just because season 5 wasn't like up with seasons 1 through 3, but I gotta say, like in my own opinion, the season 6 so far, it's only 2 episodes deep, or well 3 by the time this episode drops, but the first 2 episodes, I gotta say it's on par with what I would have expected, like post
actual 6 seasons.
Yeah. It's.
I say that a network televised 6 season.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll do apologies there.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, it's online now. It's
well, yeah.
crap.
What's the? Because again, I'm the guy who thought you needed a PlayStation to watch Powers. What's the like? Kind of explain the deal for.
So Yahoo has launched their own streaming show movie site, just like Hulu, you know. And so all you gotta do is go to the right URL. You just go to Yahoo Screen and then pick Community. I think they have a couple other shows there. Some internet exclusive, a couple others I think are just like internet syndication, but yeah, and then they have a couple coming that look really good too. I can't remember what it's called, but it's got Alan Richardson, who's anyone who knows me knows that I love Blue Mountain State,
Aquaman.
and he was the second Aquaman on Smallville.
Technically the first.
Oh yeah,
but because like they shot a pilot starring Justin Hartley, who was the Green Hornet. Fucking Green Hornet. Jesus.
Green Arrow.
Green Arrow, thank you. Who was eventually the Green Arrow on Smallville.
Right.
So they kind of did this weird, and then whenever Aquaman showed up on Smallville, it was
Alan Richardson. Yeah. Who was also the main reason why I went and saw The Wedding Ringer in theaters, and it was hilarious. But
didn't he retweet you or tweet you or something about it?
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, when Alan Richardson came up on screen, someone was like, Thad, his character from Blue Mountain State, and he enjoyed that tweet. But yeah, so they have he has a show coming out soon on Yahoo Screen, which looks really good. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it's called, but it looks kind of like it looks like kind of like a weird, goofy version of the. I feel terrible. Greatest American Hero, that TV show from like the 80s, with the Believe It or Not.
Yeah,
I'm
the guy who
on
loses the instructions on how to become a superhero.
Yeah, this thing crashes down on Earth, and it's got pieces of a suit, and like him and a group of friends all put on like one piece. Like one has like a Mega Man blaster gauntlet. One has like just like a glove on the other hand, and then one has like two boots, and then one guy has a helmet that allows him to like have like cool digital readouts and stuff like that. And then Alan Richardson plays a guy who's like an army guy who's trying to train them how to be covert, or not covert, but like combat ready. Because I guess they can't take the pieces of uniform off. Like it didn't explain everything in the trailer, but like that's it. Like it seems like the army kind of like decides to use them to their advantage because they have these like now they essentially have these like super weapons, and it seems like they're the only ones that can use it for whatever reason. But yeah, so that's coming out soon. That looks really good. But to go back to Community, yeah, it looked like somewhere between as I would put it. If you're keeping track of the seasons, I would say that it's somewhere between season 3 and season 5 for quality. Cool. And the second episode has one of my has my favorite line of the season so far. The dean puts on this VR headset, and he's like in a virtual reality world, and he's like so amazed, even though it's like 16-bit, quality, but he's just like, and Jesus wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer.
Is there now? Do they take advantage of being not on on network TV anymore? Like, is it a bit more risque? Do they not pull their punches?
They not so far. Like, I think they're playing it safe and like easing into it. Like, they're taking advantage of, I think, having like a slightly longer time slot.
Yeah,
because like you don't have to worry about having like a 5-minute long commercial break when you're online. But like the language isn't any cruder. There there's no nudity still, and stuff like that. Like they're not taking full advantage of being online just yet. I don't know if that's going to change or if they have any plans to mess around with that.
Powers has.
Yeah.
Oh. Powers. Well, it's funny.
Yeah,
I've been trying to get my dad. I was like, hey, you should check out Powers. I think he would enjoy the kind of cop procedural, and I think it's interesting elements to the show of it's not just your normal cop show, and it's not just your normal superhero show. But I was watching episode 4 on the computer. My dad happened to walk in, and it was a scene right when I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it was a very, very blood spewing graphic, just all over the walls, body parts flying everywhere, screaming. And he was like, this looks like a lovely show, and just like walks out. But yeah, Powers, pretty much everything you can get away with. I don't think there's been like straight up like nudity outside of like a butt crack, Eddie Izzard butt crack. But like I mean,
best butt crack.
There are a lot of F-bombs, a lot of violence, but it's a show that also, again, the low budget gives it a little bit of heart to it, because it doesn't rely on trying to wow you with special effects as much as it has like a heart to it. The character of Walker is a very interesting, funny, tragic character that like you're rooting for the entire time, and you're just like so. I don't know. It's just this idea of most superhero shows we watch, it's about someone getting their superpowers, not losing them.
Yeah.
And it's
or dealing with the repercussions.
Yeah, exactly. And it's this guy like he wants to do the right thing, but it's just this idea of like I'm still possibly willing to put myself in harm's way. Never anyone else, but I'm still willing possibly to put myself in harm's way to get these powers back, because he kind of feels useless. Like all of his friends still know him. They're like, hey, Walker, because he's Diamond as the superhero.
Yeah, he used to be one of us.
Yeah, now he's kind of like this like cop guy that like they're like, come on, man, like what are you doing?
In the FX pilot, Walker was originally played by Jason Patric.
Who's Jason Patric?
Ever see the movie The Losers, which was, in my opinion, the better A-Team?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah, it came out the same year and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I keep forgetting about the A-Team movie.
Yeah. I wish The Losers...
Probably rightfully so.
Yeah, I wish... I didn't hate the A-Team.
I enjoyed Charlton Copley and Patrick Wilson in the movie.
I mean, nobody does a bad job, so to speak.
I mean, you see them, they are in a tank, and to get on course, they like fire the tank, like so they're like going left and right or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
It's pretty over the top,
but
he's fun.
He's the bad guy in The Losers.
Okay, because in the comic, Walker looks like Superman. You know, he looks like a Bruce Timm, like, you know, top heavy, like brute of a guy.
Yeah, like a pizza slice.
Yeah,
exactly.
And considering who they got, Sharto for this one,
He put on some muscle. Like
well,
there's some
and
scenes.
who the villain was. Now remembering the losers, I think they went with a smarter choice for the actual show that has been aired.
And Sharto, like, he's really just, you know, because of Champion powers, and I've kind of been reading a lot about him. It really kind of a fascinating career he's had, because I don't know how much he was into acting as like a young guy, but I know that, you know, his best friend, you know, obviously the director of District 9 and Elysium and Chappie, and he's been in all those movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was something where he's like, hey, you know, come along and let's journey with me, or it was like because if he was just a friend and he was like, hey, you should be in this movie with me, you know, like a best friend, like, hey, we should do this. He found a diamond in the rough, man, because he has a great sense for acting. I don't know if that was something he was studying as a younger man, but he's got some really great range to him.
If I remember the story, it literally was just kind of like, oh yeah, you should be in this little movie that I'm doing.
Well, that worked
here.
because, I mean,
Neil Blomkamp is to Sharto Copley as Sam Raimi is to Bruce Campbell.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense because, well, I mean, but I know that like Bruce Campbell was like kind of studying to be an actor, you know, or Sharto, like, you know, he comes in and just this movie District 9 that comes out of nowhere, this guy that comes out of nowhere, everyone from that movie basically comes out of nowhere and wows the crowd. I mean, gets nominated for Best Picture, you know?
Yeah, Sharto's kind of got that unrealized potential in him that his friend Neil, I guess, just saw in him and kind of thought, you know, you really are going to have a really successful career, I imagine, for you, and kind of just introduces him very slightly into this science fiction film and just explodes from there for him.
It's always different, despite Blomkamp always utilizing Copley. His roles in all three Blomkamp films are quite different.
Oh yeah, they couldn't be more different, really. I mean,
he's the straight up villain in Elysium.
Yeah, which actually I haven't seen. I mean, I wouldn't mind renting that one or just kind of checking it out because
if we're talking,
it's really good.
I mean, you know, people crapped all over Chappie, and I really like Chappie, so who knows? But
if we're talking like when Copley puts on muscle.
Yeah, well, I remember. But
real quick, speaking of Blomkamp, someone I saw posted on Facebook earlier today that since the Phantom is like Africa's greatest hero or whatever, you know, he should remake a Phantom movie, and then it put
make Sharto Copley the fucking Kit Walker.
So here's where you'll get upset, or at least I got upset. But like they put a picture. So they have a picture of Billy Zane in the costume from the original movie, and then right next to it, like, and he's holding his two guns. Right next to it is a promotional picture from Chappie with Ninja holding two guns.
Oh,
and I was like,
get out of here. Well, Neil would never work with him again anyway.
Yes, I think he thankfully learned his mistake.
See, now you got me like thinking of like a Neil Blomkamp, Sharto Copley driven Phantom movie.
I would actually be down for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer doing the score.
Buying my ticket right now, even if it doesn't exist. I don't care. I'm buying it right now.
Yeah.
It's all about apartheid too.
That's cool, man. Yeah, cool, because you know the Phantom's from it's a fictionalized African, you know,
island.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just
kind of like Black Panther, sort of.
Yeah, I mean it's
kind of like Wakanda.
Yeah, it's but that'd be so cool.
I mean, he is a ghost who walks. So
ghost who walks.
Yeah.
Ghost who fucks.
Those twin 45s, man.
Yeah.
Ghost who falls over.
For some reason, like that's like the pulp staple, like the 45 pistol.
Oh,
you know?
I don't know if you ever read. So DC had acquired the license to a lot of pulp heroes in like around 2007, 2008, and they were like, "Cool, we're gonna make this like a fucking event. People are gonna run out and buy every single issue of this. It's gonna be our." And it was called First Wave, and they had Doc Savage, and they had the Spirit, and all that jazz. And one, it didn't sell that well. But the thing that and they don't have they didn't have the license anymore. But when Batman shows up in First Wave, like every fucking buddy else, he's got 245s.
Yeah, the twin 45s.
Yeah,
that makes in a comic book setting. I don't care. I know it's like the big no-no for Batman. It makes everyone cooler. Like in that pulp world with the holsters and twin 45s. I mean, come on.
And he's got a flashlight in his mouth, and he's just like. Argh.
Well, there was the black and white statues that we have at the comic shop. For the longest time, they had the twin 45, like the Batman with like the Bob Kane kind of big bat ears. Dude, that's like all day, man. I love that shit. Like that. Like
I remember seeing that statue and being like, "The fuck is this? Batman holding guns? What the fuck?"
Did I ever tell you guys what happened when Bob Kane met Jim Steranko?
Oh, gather around, children, for story time. This is fantastic.
No.
Do you want to?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Yes.
Why not?
So
It's fantastic.
okay, so Bob Kane is the sole credited creator of Batman.
Bill Finger.
Well, yes, as Chris is alluding to, everyone has kind of been like, it's actually been more like Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson and Dick Sprang, who really fleshed out the character in a supporting cast and all that jazz. Just Bob Kane knew how to
Market it.
and get the lawyers.
Yeah, do a deal.
He basically saw what happened to Schuster and Siegel for creating Superman and how the rights to that completely went to National Comics, which we now know as DC Comics. And he's like, well, fuck that. I'm going to create something like Superman level, but I'll have them like the licensing rights for it. Can you think of any big Batman memorabilia from like the 40s or 50s? The answer is no, because it doesn't fucking exist. Because DC looked at the fine print of that contract after they signed it, and they're like, well, not only are we giving sole credit to this guy, and in every piece of Batman media, like movies, TV, every comic that you pick up, it always says Batman created by Bob Kane, because that's one of the stipulations of the contract. And the estate gets like a pretty significant portion of the licensing money. And so they were like, well, fuck that. That's why they marketed the shit out of Superman in the 40s and 50s, because they're like, well, we got like majority rights on, like almost complete rights on that. So that's why Superman was so prevalent during those days. Batman wasn't, I mean, obviously they kept the books going, but that's why you don't really see Superman, like Batman toys, until the Adam West TV show. So
When there was a higher demand for it.
Yeah, when it was like you couldn't, like it was in the public zeitgeist.
There was probably no way to keep that show going without memorabilia.
I think it was I feel like that was one of the shows that made like TV show memorabilia a thing. It certainly led the way of that, and like westerns, like to get your like little pop guns and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But so Jim Steranko, who is one of the greatest comic book artists of all time. He just has the greatest life of all time. Mm-hmm. He created Go-Go Dancers. He inspired Bill Haley and the Comets, who did Rock Around the Clock, the theme to Happy Days. Yes, Rock Around the Clock. I misspoke. Or maybe I spoke correctly. He was the inspiration for Jack Kirby to create Mr. Miracle, because in his youth he used to be a circus escape artist. Like... I look at what this guy did before the age of 30. I'm like, wow, I really fucked up. He's done everything. He created the visual look for Indiana Jones. Like, he was contracted by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg to develop like the look that we all know and love now. So he was a big time comic artist. He only drew like about 30 some issues, and then he was like, fuck this, I'm gonna do my own stuff because I'm Jim Steranko. But he was instrumental with like creating Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He did a lot of work with Captain America in the late 60s. Anyway, so he
But did he help create Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
The amalgamation universe?
Yeah.
Do you have those issues?
No.
It's a shame.
I have the trade for the main story, but not the offshoots.
Right. I only have the first issue of DC vs. Marvel. Anywho, so one of the things he does in the 80s is do this history of comic books compilation, which is one of the first major looks of like, this is, where the American comic book industry came from. And in his book, he really credits Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson and Dick Sprang for creating Batman. Obviously, he mentions Bob Kane, but like they get the lion's share of the credit, as most people seem to think would be rightfully so. I haven't actually like sat down and analyzed it all, but from what I understand, they actually deserve the lion's share.
From my understanding, Bob Kane was just kind of like the guy in charge of this like artist's booth or whatever. Like he was the guy that got everyone together and was like, all right, we need to make a character that's a man but also a bat.
Yeah.
And then Bill Finger was like, okay.
Does all the hard
Done.
work. Yeah. Turns it in, and then Bob Kane puts his name on it.
Yeah, and Bob Kane signs it. And like Bill Finger just draws the Batman that they show in Batman '89, and then Bob Kane signs his name.
Yeah. I feel like Bob Kane was that guy that would always, like, if you ever met him, he'd be like, "Hi, I'm Bob Kane. I created Batman." Like you could have known him for like years.
So him and Todd McFarlane just get stuck in a loop.
The difference is
There's a major difference.
Todd McFarlane
Actually created
fucking
Spawn.
Andy has a lisp.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
I created Spawn.
I've never actually heard Bob Kane's voice. Who knows?
I have.
I feel like my impression was spot on, even though I have no source material.
Yeah. There's a documentary on one of the Batman DVDs.
He's on it.
They interview. It's about his life.
So
and he sounds nothing like that. But
yeah,
I appreciate. It was a
I was kind of trying to channel my inner J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons.
Right. So
yelling, not my tempo.
Bob Kane gets this book and he sees that he's not giving the credit he feels he is owed for creating Batman. And so at a San Diego Comic-Con, Kane and his entourage, because he would be the type to always have an entourage.
Kane and his Ables.
Yeah, well, no, he doesn't kill them all with rocks, but the as far as I know. So he runs into Jim Steranko on the show floor, and they both happen to be like lined up for like an elevator. And they're talking for a bit, and he's like, "Well, see ya, Jim, baby," and he slaps him like a little piddly slap across the face, just as the elevator's doors close, so Steranko can't do anything, which is bitch move, but on all counts. And Steranko is kind of like stunned, right? He's like,
I get that idea. If you've ever seen the South Park episode, the High School Musical episode, where the guy's like, "I'll slap you, I'll slap." Like that's kind of like this. Like you said, this. Steranko called it like one of those like 1930s kind of like little like pat, like like that kind of pat where like you know exactly what that pat means.
It's more of a condescending. You can tell it's not like a friendly pat on the cheek. It's more of like a condescending like.
Yeah, and it is bitch move to do it as the doors are closing. And I can only imagine like what Jim Steranko's face must look like.
You've seen him tell the story.
Oh yeah,
he's still like 20, 30 years later.
He gets like riled up about it. Like he's telling this story at a con. Someone asked him about it, and he starts off all fun and games, and then he starts when he mentions the actual slap.
It brings back that memory.
His voice starts to get really like tight.
Yeah, he's like, ugh.
Yeah, and because as Sam's been saying, like after the slap, he couldn't sleep that night. Like he stayed up all night, like running this thing. Like when something happens to you, like you get one-upped, or someone does like a dick move to you, and like you can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah,
like
I keep replaying it, and like
working in retail, like a lot of times, like during the holidays or something, you get like a really bitchy customer that says something really kind of shitty to you, or something, something along those lines, and you can't like help but replay it in your head over and over again. That's what Jim Steranko did about getting little, slapped, in the face by Bob Kane, like all night, like when he's telling the story, decades later, he's like, I was up all night, I couldn't, I hunted him the next day.
Yeah, he's replaying this memory as he's recounting it, just like he did that night. And so the next, like Jake was saying, the next day, he's hunting all of San Diego Comic-Con for Bob Kane.
Yeah, that's an easy job.
And that's his like actual like word usage. Like he said, I hunted him the next day.
Yeah, he finally tracks down Bob Kane. He comes up. He's like, "Hey, Kane, you remember me?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you're Steranko." And he's like, "Yeah, well, good to see you again, Bob, baby." And he bitch slaps Bob Kane. Like, he lets him have it. Like, I can only imagine, like, it's loud enough that the entire show floor silences, even at San Diego.
the record scratch, even?
Yeah, the slap heard across the entire
I can imagine, like, this little kid walking up. When we were kids, you didn't know any better. You thought Bob Kane was, like, the god. Like, he created all Batman things. This little kid going up to get Bob Kane's autograph right as he's getting slapped in the mouth. And the little kid's like, fuck this guy. I'm going to go read Spider-Man.
By the way, can we start a band called Bob Kane Bitch Slap?
Bob Kane Bitch Slap.
He'd probably try to
opening up for No Look Lizard Stomp.
Yeah, exactly.
His state would probably just be like, "Hey, he created Batman." But anyway, so
hey guys, give him the respect he deserves. He created Batman.
So he stands there, like, and this is, you were talking about like how other people on the show floor must have reacted. Mm-hmm. What happens like next should be even more awkward, because he stands there for like 10, 15 seconds, like,
waiting. Well, no, like Steranko slaps him, and the non-bitch move that Steranko does, instead of like running or walking away, he stands there and stares at him. Like, what are you going to do next? And when he's telling the story, he's getting like shaking again, because he's like, I wanted him to hit me. because then I wanted to knock him out. Like that was his thought process.
For Bill Finger.
Yeah,
For,
I like that would have been for Jerry Robinson.
This.
It would have been for Dick Sprang. It would have been for all those guys. And I remember the crowd like ate that shit up and they loved it.
Yeah. Jim Steranko, if you've never heard of him, look him up. He's like a living. He's still
he
alive.
looks cool, dude. Like even nowadays,
dude.
like the turtleneck and like the blazer.
He probably
like,
lays down all kinds of crazy pipe.
Wait, so so like the turtleneck and blazer, you mean like Michael Keaton's character design for Bruce Wayne?
but like
Kind of. The thing is, he looks like Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Like,
he was drawing his life.
Yeah, when you think
With-
about it,
with an eye patch
without
and
the eye
everything.
patch,
and the sideburns.
he gave him the eye patch because he's probably like nobody would believe anyone would be this cool. Like
Yeah.
you have to give him something to like.
He has to have some kind of character flaw.
Yeah.
I know. He doesn't have stereoscopic vision.
Yeah, but Jim Steranko does as he draws it. Yeah.
Steranko does it right.
Steranko does it good.
Chuckling to himself like, oh, I'm better than Nick Fury.
How
Yeah.
cool is it that Steranko is the inspiration for Mr. Miracle?
So cool that like, and here's the effect of that Mr. Miracle still has on people. A couple days ago, I followed Jeff Johns on Instagram, and he had posted a picture of Mr. Miracle, basically being like, and it's like he heard our conversation. He's like, how freaking cool is Mr. Miracle?
Yeah, even
Like-
if his wife filmed a porno
Yeah.
with Superman in Action Comics,
I mean, to be fair, that to me that just makes him cooler.
and somehow Darkseid gets a VHS copy.
Yeah, but Mr. Miracle.
And has a VCR with which to play it.
Well, he's waiting that issue. He's waiting in Mr. Miracle's house, and he's like, "Scott, take a look at this." And it's just like, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
That means Darkseid sat down
Yeah.
with his porno tape and was like, Apocalypse spank material, excellent." And then watches it, and he's like, "That looks like Big
Has
Barda."
like industrial grade lube because he looks like he's made out of stone.
That's the Omega sanction right there. Yeah.
fires a couple of Omega.
Yeah, I mean, if he targets you with his Omega beams, you can't escape.
Yeah, you just get blasted back in the time.
Fuck that bitch so hard she woke up in the Stone Age.
Now, I remembered, Chris, I let you borrow my my Grant Morrison stuff.
Yes.
Did you like the Return of Bruce Wayne, like the time travel stuff?
No, moving on.
No. No,
short answer, no.
Yeah, the little bit longer answer. Like I felt like it just was all just too convenient. Like the really Bruce Wayne didn't really seem to have to work for it. Like it just kind of he just kind of traveled through time, and then like there was that. It to me while I was reading it felt really rushed. Like, oh well, but it is a little tricky. We gotta kind of do something, but
He's a bomb.
Nah. Yeah, exactly. For a second, I couldn't remember whether or not Bruce Wayne was the bomb or Steve Rogers was the bomb,
No,
because they both kind of had the same traveling through time
Around the same
issue.
time.
Yeah.
Cap Reborn and the
Every time I
Return of
think
Bruce
of
Wayne.
Cap Reborn, I remember the night that you and Josh were both trying to tell me the story at the same time at IHOP.
Yeah, and I was kind of
Josh
remembering
kept,
stuff.
Yeah, Josh kept trying to jump forward, and you kept trying to jump back because you were both remembering different aspects of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this makes it even more confusing.
Yeah, I'm remembering like relevant material as I'm telling it. I'm like, oh yeah, this did happen.
Oh, and you needed to know this, and then I think the big problem was Josh was thinking of it as a complete story, and you were still trying to like tell it linearly.
Sequentially, yeah.
So he was like, "Oh, well, that pays off with this," and it's like, but Chris doesn't know about that yet.
Yeah. Getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So like it kept jumping around back and forth, and I'm just like, if if the story is half as poorly written as this story is being told to me, then I don't want to read it.
yeah, but Steranko, I think, is one of those guys that made comics cool.
Oh yeah.
Like he's the one that made comics modern art.
Mhm.
And he slapped Bob Kane, and he designed Indiana Jones. Those are like three
Need
things.
we say more?
Yeah, and he was
Because Sam will.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola.
Mm-hmm.
He did the concept art for that film too.
It's one of my favorite depictions of Dracula.
And visually, it's like such a visually sumptuous
Oh, yeah.
film.
I almost bought it on Laserdisc.
Chris, do you want to go into detail? Because I think the name of this episode is going to be Fanboyism, and you're currently fanboying out over.
Oh, I am going so hardcore on Laserdiscs right now. I don't even know why. I think it's just I found something that makes me happy, and it's collecting Laserdiscs.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not in the know, which I feel is probably a large amount of the populace. Maybe not so much a large part of our listeners, because we're all nerds, and it is something that you can nerd out on. But Laserdiscs was this movie, like home video technology that came out of the 80s. So right off the bat, it's going to be something crazy. Basically, Pioneer saw what Philips did with CDs, and they were like, we can do that with movies. We can do that with video and audio. So they found a way to essentially use the exact same technology as CDs for movies. So you have a CD, and that's like, maybe like 6-8 inches across, if that, probably like more like 4. Anyway, and that's about 45 minutes of audio. Well, if you want to put video on that, you're going to need a lot more space, because video takes up a lot more space just in bytes, which means you need more physical space to store it. So you have this CD, which is no longer compact in nature whatsoever, because it is the size of a vinyl record. It's 12 inches across, and you got your movie on it. You pop it in your Laserdisc player, and depending on the video quality, you have anywhere between 20 and 60 minutes before you have to flip the side of the disc to continue watching the movie. So when you have really long movies, like my Star Wars laser discs that are 5 sides apiece. Now, granted, that's not just because of how long the movie is. They also have supplemental material on the on each side, because there's also laser discs of Star Wars that are only 2 sides apiece, but that's because it uses different video quality and there is no anything else. But yeah, so my dad had bought a Laserdisc player way back in the day when it was a new medium, and we had maybe a dozen movies, and mostly like Sean Connery and Roger Moore Bond movies. He had bought me the original Ghostbusters and the first Tim Burton Batman on Laserdisc. We had Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. And then for the longest time, that's all we have. And then out of nowhere, just basically around the time I got my tax return back, I was like, you know what? This is all disposable income. Let's spend it on something ridiculous. And I just went on this buying frenzy. I haven't done like a full count recently, and I still have a couple coming in the mail, but I think probably by like next month, if I don't buy any more, I'll have like 35 in my collection, so it's more than doubled.
Jeez.
And yeah, and the kicker is like this is not because like they're beautiful quality or anything like that. They're about the same quality as a VHS tape, except since they're fully digital, like the quality maintains longer. But yeah, so it's almost purely for the nostalgia and for like the niche of it, like I'm one of 2 people that I know who, even has a desire to ever have Laserdiscs, let alone like actively collects them,
What's funny, because your like obsession with this rubbed off on me, because I don't have a Laserdisc player, and I bought The Rocketeer on Laserdisc for $5.
Hey,
because I was like, I collect all things Rocketeer. I love that character a lot, and I was flipping through on eBay for some stuff, and the Laserdisc thing popped up. I'm like, you know what? Like, Chris is buying a bunch of stuff for Laserdisc. I don't have any. I recently got the old SNES, the Rocketeer game, just as part of the collection too. I'm gonna join the Laserdisc party and hopefully do some kind of Laserdisc marathon or something down the road.
Well, one of the other nice things about Laserdiscs is because they're 12-inch in diameter, the case that holds them has to be that big as well. So like you get a movie with a good cover, and boom, that's practically like a mini poster. Which I know Sam does the same thing with vinyls, which are about the same dimensions.
Yeah, I mean, I always looked at Laserdiscs as basically 40 or 33 1/3 like LP size DVDs.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what they are. I mean, if you want to go into the tech side of it, it's a different laser. But but the sentiment is there.
Yeah. in theoretically or conceptually or whatever.
Yeah. For anyone that doesn't that's
In
not going to
layman's
get
terms.
yes, that's not going to get anal about it. Which I pointed out just in case there are people that are listening. It's like, oh, it's not DVDs, but like I don't care.
Yeah. Zero fucks given here. But now you're fanboying out over Madman, Jake?
Yes.
Not Mad Men, but Mad Man.
I'm gonna get back on the show because I haven't seen
Last
it since,
episode's premiere soon.
I know, and I think I'm just gonna when it's done, kind of do what I did with like Breaking Bad and stuff. Because I watched the first 3 seasons of Mad Men and loved it.
First season of Mad Men is $5 on Vudu.
That's right.
In HTX.
Gotta get those Voodoo codes.
Yeah, me and
Voodoo.
We mentioned that last episode, didn't
I think
we?
we just like walked.
yeah.
We just
That's what
walked
you're
around.
geeking out on.
Yeah,
Sam.
Voodoo code.
Voodoo code.
I will buy a subpar movie solely because it has a Voodoo code, so I can put it in my collection. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I have over 100 movies in my Voodoo collection.
That's life. I mean,
Now are the Voodoo codes to download that specific movie, or can you like use it towards anything in the Voodoo collection?
That's
yeah,
specific.
unfortunately,
Okay.
it's specific.
We want to create our
So
own
it's like
Voodoo
Marvel.
store.
It's like Marvel codes.
Yeah, for the digital. Yeah.
We want to create our own store where it's just a wall of like little like cards, and you just take it home.
Yeah.
No DVD.
Maybe that's
no-
where DVD goes.
Maybe, and
I
I'd
mean,
be
yeah, I
fine with a
wouldn't be
Voodoo
su-
store.
I wouldn't be surprised if it like ended up being like Toys R Us, like the video
Well, no,
game
even
section.
that, like, it's
where
like-
you just have your card, and then you don't even have
GameStop
to.
now.
You're
yeah.
like, man, I really want Goldfinger Voodoo code, but they don't have it. And you hit a little button, type it in, and it prints out the barcode. It's like, there's your little.
That would actually be
Goldfinger.
really cool.
There's your Goldfinger Voodoo
And then it's
code.
like $5 for that little piece of paper, as
Yeah.
opposed to like $15 for a disc.
I'd do it, but
Get on that Voodoo.
you're right.
Yeah.
Standalone stores.
Yeah. Well, they're
Has to be
they're owned
crushed.
by Walmart. They're
Yeah,
own-
Walmart.
yeah, I'm turning
It's the German Walmart.
Walmart. That was good, Chris.
Walmarten, bitte.
That was very cute, Chris. Very cute.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Say bitter if he
But,
wants to. It's his fucking store.
Well, welcome to Walmart, please.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, they're owned by Walmart, so you can already buy like just the cards at Walmart.
Yeah, you
So
can also
it's
buy
already going that way.
the thing you plug into your TV and you have Voodoo on the on
Yeah.
a go.
Is it like a? Is it?
It's like a little flash drive looking thing,
A Voodoo
like-
specific thing, or is it like a Roku that does a bunch of things?
I think it's just Voodoo specific,
Mm.
and you just plug it in. You're like, hey, so now I have. Sam has his 100 movies on this, potentially
cool.
on this little thing.
It's just
come
like a
over to
little
your house,
dongle.
and you're like, come over to your house, plug it into your TV,
Yeah.
boom, all
like
of
my
Sam's movies are access.
Chromecast.
But
that I
very
don't
sim-
use anymore.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
But anyway, going back to this is
Right,
kind of
yeah,
going
so-
back to we tweet out top 5 comics every tweet out Facebook and our top 5 comics every week, and one of the things that happened was it 2 weeks ago, Sam? I think it was the Silver Surfer was one of our
Last
picks.
week.
Was it okay? Last week, yeah.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer issue was one of our top 5 comics, and the artist on that book, Mike Allred, was nice enough to retweet it to his followers, and that post alone got a lot of attraction from people seeing it because Mike Allred's a massive talent in the comics community. And I've always enjoyed his art. I don't have much of a Mike Allred collection, but I've always enjoyed it. And he was one of the first guys to really do that. It takes him, nothing at all, just to hit the retweet button and help us out a bit. Not that was really nice of him to do that.
Yeah.
And we've had actually, I was joking earlier about keeping the door locked to Geek Out, but we've had a lot of great people interacting with us over Twitter, over Facebook. The interview we did with Kelsey Simons, yes. It's fantastic,
Yeah.
And
Of course, the Corey Murphy interview got a lot
exactly,
of,
yeah. And so we've been really kind of, and we got
And so
invisible.
thank you guys for
yeah,
listening. This
and we
month.
got
It's been
invisible
good.
friend Josh here too. You
Yeah.
know,
Imaginary friend Josh.
imaginary and
Yeah.
invisible, and
Ghost Man
Just
on
like
third.
he's invisible, just like the car from that last.
Die
Pierce
Another
Brosnan.
Day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
But anyway, so I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna do my research and read up on some Mike Allred stuff. So I was reading iZombie, which is what he was the artist for.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I actually saw that the episode.
Did
Was
you
that
guys?
any
Did you
good?
guys watch that?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the
loved
pilot.
It. I thought it was adorable.
Created by the same guy who created Veronica
Yeah,
Mars.
it
Yeah.
definitely had a. I didn't know that until after I'd watched the episode, and when I read that, I was like, "Yeah, I see it. I liked Veronica Mars, so not surprising that I like this too."
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I unfortunately missed it, but that is one I am planning on watching.
she's
It's on demand, man.
And all the opening credit scenes are kind of this motion comic of the Mike Allred art.
and the transitions between the commercial breaks and like coming
Yeah.
back to the show.
The bumps.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
And so-
to use industry terms,
That was the
bumps.
start of kind of like really diving into some of the Mike Allred stuff. And one of the things I found is his Twitter picture. is this kind of like David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust looking kind of character. And I was like, who the hell is that? And so...
shows up in Powers.
Yeah.
The comic, not the TV show.
That'd be fantastic if he showed up in the
Maybe
TV
later
show.
in the TV show.
Yeah.
But
Give it time.
Keep it going.
yeah,
Cross our fingers. Also get Eric Larson's Savage Dragon.
that's right. And so anyway, did some research, and there's a character that Mike Allred created called Madman, and got the first volume digitally on Comixology, and
That's that guy with the like lightning bolt
Yeah.
exclamation point on his
Not,
chest.
not unlike Freakazoid.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a story there, but
There's a story for another time. And Frank
That's a
Einstein.
whole episode in itself.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jim Steranko didn't slap anybody in this story.
No, he didn't. But
He stole his time.
yeah, he does. He does. But Frank Einstein, this
He goes
character,
around slapping everyone.
cons hunting people.
Can we hire him to slap the shit out of people?
Apparently, he only runs on 2 hours of sleep.
Really?
Yeah. Jim Steranko, look up Jim Steranko facts, and you'll just be like, good God.
Amazed
Yeah.
his rap sheet. But
Madman.
So Madman, I decided to check this book out, and look, anyone who listens to me talk about any kind of books I read know I kind of freak out about the characters and the stories I read, because I try to read stories I think I'm going to like, and luckily most of the times I do. But this one's like something different, and it's like I get that feeling when I read Grant Morrison's Animal Man for the first time. It's this comic that like I just. It's one of those comics immediately, the first couple of pages panel is this creator-owned, written and drawn by Mike Allred. You just fall in love with this character. And, before I knew it, I was on page, 250 of the book. I didn't even realize time was, didn't matter to me while I'm sitting here reading this book. And it's one of those comics where it's a world that he creates with really rich characters that I feel like when I start the comic, I'm jumping into this world with the characters. I'm not just reading a comic book. And so it's a book that I've really, really come to love a lot, and enjoying the heck out of. It's just a really unique, fun kind of character named Frank Einstein after Frank Sinatra and Albert Einstein. Because what Mike Allred does is he's such a huge movie and music fan that throughout the book you can see little glimpses of where he'll put a little song here or there, or he'll have a movie reference here. A lot of Bowie references the way that Madman looks. But it's a fantastic series. I mean, I guess he first appeared in, I can't remember the name of the comic now, in the early, 1990, but then got his own series in 92. I think it ran for about 10 years, but just a really fantastic book. And I think Robert Rodriguez still owns the rights to make the movie.
Yeah.
Which would be, reading the book now, it
Still has
almost...
the rights to heavy metal as well.
That's right. It would almost work
I have
as
that on Laserdisc.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it would almost work as an animated film. Because it kind of like it's in and out of kind of this reality, and this character that'll there's action and adventure in it, and it has pulp kind of vibes to it. There's some panels. The really cool thing is that before each issue, he has one of his kind of heroes draw their own version of Madman, and the first one is Jack Kirby, which must have been like mind blown for Mike Allred.
Yeah. Did he ever get Jim Steranko?
I don't know. I'll have to check. But yeah, check that out right now, because that'd probably be pretty cool. But one of them is Dave Stevens, who he's my favorite artist pretty much of all time, and obviously created the Rocketeer. And so it's kind of cool. There's Mike Allred also did a Rocketeer Adventures Volume 1, Issue 2. He did a Rocketeer story, which is really cool. But yeah, it's just a book that I've been geeking out hard over and really enjoying. And did he do one?
He did.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super cool. I know this is like a podcast and I should be talking, but I'm just like thinking about
That's so cool.
Jim Steranko drawing
So
Madman.
cool, guys.
But so it seems like everyone's drawn Madman, which is awesome. But anyway, check that book out as and hopefully they make a live action or an animated film, something. Let's get more Madman in the world, because I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love that book.
Now, Josh, are you geeking out over or fanboying? I mean, you probably fanboy harder than all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely more of the fanboy for like TV shows and stuff like that.
Yes, if it's visual media, I consume it like nothing else.
So what's good? What's on your to watch list?
Well, it used to be the Arrow and the Flash, but Arrow, I feel like this season's kind of fallen to the wayside just based upon story alone, The Flash, thankfully, has been picking up the slack and running with it nonstop, which I absolutely adore.
Pun intended.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Speaking of Arrow and Flash, actually, I just remembered that I just saw one of our favorite character actors posting on his social media within the last couple days.
Is it a guy by the name of, starts with D, ends with Ugg Jones?
Yes, fucking Doug Jones is going to be. I've already. It's a villain that I don't know that well, but he's going to be the villain on an upcoming episode of The Flash. But he gets introduced on an upcoming, first on an upcoming episode of Arrow. And
which seems to be a continuing theme of these two shows.
I mean, something's got to help keep the ratings up for Arrow, right?
Yeah.
And like I saw that and I was like, okay, cool. I have one more episode of Arrow to watch. Because like I'm more or less done with Arrow myself, but I'm still in it with the Flash.
Yeah, I mean, unlike Supernatural, where it can go well on past the apocalypse, and I'll keep watching it. Arrow,
you're a better man than I am in that regard, then.
Yeah.
Or worse, I'm not sure.
Certainly more dedicated.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
with
we'll
the
go
program.
dedicated.
Committed, because that can go both ways.
Yeah, probably should be committed for how much I've been enjoying that show. But yeah, Arrow, on the other hand, I might give it one more season if it even survives that.
It probably, I mean, it will.
But speaking of shows that were close to on the chopping block, another one I have been thoroughly enjoying has been Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right.
I know a couple people that are like diehard fans of that show. Personally, I don't get it. But I've only watched the pilot. I haven't watched it. Can you for me and maybe other people that in my same situation? What's the hook on that one, other than the fact that it's like, oh, Ichabod Crane in modern day, solving crimes,
yes,
or whatever it is.
It does do the man out of time of Ichabod Crane. Not school teacher background, military background in this one for him. But kind of does the man out of time solving supernatural instances.
And isn't the Headless Horseman like one of the horsemen of the apocalypse or something like that?
Yes, they do have a biblical apocalyptic theme to the show. It carried very heavily in the first season, slightly came to a close in the second season. Third, we really don't know where it's going to go now, considering how the second season ended.
Mm-hmm. And it's got Walter in it, right?
Yes.
From Fringe.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. John Noble. Or, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his.
Denethor.
Brainiac, if I remember correctly, from Superman?
Brainiac was, were we talking Smallville? Or
No, from one of the animated films. I think Superman Unbound or Unchained.
I feel like I remember hearing that he voiced Brainiac at one point. Yeah.
That's the only. There's actually Brainiac Attacks, but they brought in the animated series cast for that one, so that one doesn't count. It was Superman Unbound.
Yeah, where Matt Bomer from
White Collar.
Yes, thank you.
Stana Katic from Castle.
Yeah,
Lois Lane. Yeah.
Whole TV.
You know what's funny? Somebody, just to bring it back real quick, somebody I saw when they were talking about like Madman and making a movie that Matt Bomer would be a perfect Madman.
I would have to agree with that.
Mm-hmm. I had Matt Bomer's the younger one from White Collar, right?
Yes, the thief.
So I've never read 50 Shades of Grey, and nor do I care about there being a 50 Shades of Grey movie. But the little bit that I did know of the story, coming from all of my friends on the internet who hate it, I was like, he'd make a good Christian Grey.
He would, but knowing the information that I slightly know of the actor himself, I would imagine within even half of a split second saying no to the...
Just turn it down outright.
Yes, the question would start coming out of someone's mouth and he immediately say no.
He would hear fifth and he'd be like, nope, unless you are pleading the fifth, I don't care.
Yeah. His girlfriend in the first season was Alexandra Daddario, right, for White Collar?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. Oh. Right on.
Oh, right Jake's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Totally.
But that White Collar also was a show I absolutely loved and thought had an extremely bittersweet ending to
Really?
it.
I haven't finished. I need to catch up on that. But
They used to film that outside of my workplace when I lived in New York, because I worked in Long Island City, which is in Queens, and they do a lot of filming. Gotham films like half of the exteriors in Gotham. I'm like, I know exactly where that is.
A lot of 30 Rock exteriors, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Their studios are out there, too.
There's Silver something Studios is
Silver Lake or
yeah,
something.
yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it was like down the street. I remember actually walking in there, a couple times, being like, "Are there any jobs?" And then they were like, "No, this is literally just space rental. Like we have no in-house production." And I was like, "Yeah, it makes sense. You
Yeah.
gotta work for one of the production companies that comes and rents your space."
Speaking of Gotham, that also was a show I began in the beginning very seriously wanting to watch in it, being a huge Batman fan, and now kind of watch it just to see all the batshit crazy things they can get away with in the universe.
You know what's so weird is that, so if I remember correctly, the three of us thoroughly enjoy Gotham, and Josh, it seems, based on like your social media posts, you hate it. And yet you keep watching it. And
yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with it now that I will believe that it is a truly one-off universe, kind of like how Red Sun was for Superman, that this rewrites the continuity and a one-off sort of universe.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, I mean that's what I've been expecting since
the
the
showrunner,
get-go.
Bruno Heller, I think his name, was like, this is not your comic book Gotham. We could do whatever we want.
I will agree with you, and like we've mentioned it before, there are certain things that like, oh, this guy, he tells a lot of riddles. Hey, no, like, hey, check it out. He's saying another riddle. No, hey, it's riddles. Get it. He's the Riddler.
To be fair, they've let up on that
They have
a lot. Like, he hasn't really happened since like episode 3.
If I remember correctly, Bruno Heller said that they understand the source material and they try to explain the source material, but at the same time, I feel like they either try to force it out enough to where a simpleton can get who the characters are, and then also just try to be clever in their own unique way.
I feel like one of the things that Gotham in that respect suffers from is that it's kind of like out on an island on its own. Like it's the only one that's on Fox. It's on Fox, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It's the only one that's on Fox. It doesn't have the support net of the other shows on like the CW, which now are like the main universe.
And considering Fox's reputation for shows kind of within this vein of what they are, I imagine that because it doesn't adhere strictly to the source material is why it's probably gone on as long as it has and is getting a second season.
It probably would have been canceled months ago had it been like faithful.
How are the ratings though? Because that's all people give a fuck about.
It's true. I feel
By
like
the
way,
I
true.
think
like Constantine.
Yeah.
I felt like Constantine was doing a great job, but the ratings weren't there.
And I think
I feel like Constantine had a good fan base too.
I think Constantine suffered from trying to be faithful to the source material, and that's maybe why a lot of average viewers maybe not wanted to get into it.
And also the source material isn't exactly made for network
Constantine
TV.
shouldn't have been on network TV.
Yeah,
but
that should have been like FX at the minimal.
Yeah, but with Gotham,
Basic cable.
I would have gone in hating the character of Harvey Bullock just because of the reputation he has within the universe, but
Can't believe you don't love Donald Logue.
he is actually my favorite character now on the show.
Yeah, I enjoyed his character. His character turn was a little bit too fast for me. Like I would have liked to slow it down just a because it kind of was just like, you know what, you're right, I'm with you, like kind of thing. Like I would have liked to have at least seen him struggle with like, but I can't change my ways. This is how it's supposed to be done. But I agree that he is a much better character now.
I see a lot of flip-flop in his character, which keeps him the most grounded and yet interesting character on the show. The fact that he is the complete polar opposite to that.
Fair. I'll give you that.
All right. So I'm trying to think. I don't really watch a lot of TV. So
What'd you think of Constantine, since I brought it up?
Constantine, the actor that got to play him, Matt Ryan, my first introduction to him was actually in a video game, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, where he played the main assassin, Edward Conway, in it. And then
My friend Nicole cosplayed as a female version of that character.
I would love to see those photos.
I'll bring him up
Nice.
after we record.
But to see him get a acting...
It was a really good costume. Our mutual friend, her and my mutual friend Megan Longwell made the costume.
No, but it was just like the creepiest come on ever. Like, I would love to see those photos.
That's fine. Sorry, Nicole. I know you listened to the show, and that was probably like.
I love the Assassin's Creed series, and I love the cosplays I've seen of that. That's.
At least I think it was Edward. It might have been Ezio, or was Ilya Ezio? Anyway, carry on.
But to see Matt Ryan actually act on screen, and what I know of the character John Constantine, and going to the Keanu Reeves interpretation as well, I thought this one gave a very true-to-life performance, and I am sad to see it in limbo currently of whether it's going to continue either on NBC or get chopped off to Sci-Fi, or unfortunately meet its final resting place.
I wouldn't mind it on Sci-Fi. I feel like that would be a decent fit for it.
Well, yeah, considering what Sci-Fi has been doing with series such as 12 Monkeys and Helix, I think it would find a perfect home on Sci-Fi.
Have you been watching the 12 Monkeys?
I want to. That is something I'm going to start.
I caught the first couple episodes on demand. I feel like I mentioned it on an episode that we recorded a couple weeks ago.
Where I think you mentioned that instead of trying to elude whether or not Cole's a time traveler, they do outright make it apparent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I watched the first couple episodes and it was all right. But like the entire time I was just like, I really want to watch the movie now.
Yeah.
Like I just really need to watch the movie. And then then I watched the movie, and I don't have a super strong desire to go back and watch the series. But like Sci-Fi does a really good job of like having I can't remember if it's all the episodes or at least like a big chunk of the episodes on demand.
As currently right now, the Sci-Fi Now app has from pilot to whatever the last episode aired on Friday was.
Okay.
Oh.
I mean, in no way am I saying it was bad. It was a well-made show. It just wasn't my movie, and that's
totally understandable.
I love me some Terry Gilliam, and I feel like that's it's one of his more accessible movies.
Yeah, he doesn't have a hand in the show, does he?
I don't think so. I think he gets like a producer's credit just because
gave
he
his
helped
blessing?
create the world. Yeah, but he didn't. But he's not like hands on in it.
Unlike
at all.
Helix, which has our favorite Rocketeer in the lead.
The only Rocketeer.
Well,
Billy Campbell. Whoa, Campbell.
Yeah, I marathoned the first season over the winter break, and am currently watching the second season through on demand, and am loving it as well.
Yeah. And did you watch The Killing too? Speaking of him on TV,
I haven't gotten to The Killing yet.
It's on Netflix.
He's a big chunk of the first season.
He
disappears for the second season, and then comes back as
he's in the second.
Is it the third season that he disappears?
He's not in the third season.
Okay.
And reboot RoboCop's in it too, isn't he?
Joel Kinnaman?
Yeah.
He's great.
He's one of the leads.
It's his best role.
Now he's Rick Flag.
Yep.
Yes.
See how that goes. I've got it.
Fingers crossed. The film continues now.
Yeah. Well, I think it was always going to continue. It was just like, who the fuck was going to be Rick Flag? Because nobody, apparently, for the longest time, they couldn't cast Rick Flag.
Well, they still have a few more roles to fill for that, if I understand correctly.
But not. I don't think. I think the squad itself.
I think they have the core.
Yeah.
Well, was it confirmed who's playing? I think it was Deathstroke. I think was the last holdout.
Joe Manganiello.
Has that been double confirmed?
In so much
I thought that was Will Smith.
No,
that's
Deadshot.
Deadshot.
There's a lot of death and deads.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know the Suicide
DSs.
Squad that well.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
Whatever version this one is going to be.
I know Harley Quinn.
I think it's got. It doesn't have King Shark. It's a shame.
Oh, I know. King
I
Shark.
would have loved to have seen
if,
that.
Maybe that's going too far into that realm for now.
So, as you may have heard, Jake and I played like a lot of Lego Batman 3. And the last,
Did you? Didn't you?
Yeah. The last DLC came out, and it's all about the Suicide Squad, or since it's a kids game, they're just
the
like the squad.
Yeah.
And you can,
Boo.
you can be king. Yeah, let's not teach our kids about suicide. Fine. You can be King Shark.
It's fantastic. You can like luau with sharks.
Yeah.
I could have called it Side Squad.
Yeah.
It's like the
With a C.
it's like King Shark and Bonk Show. Like because
Oh,
we beat it,
Bonk.
we beat it at 100%. So it just turns into Sam and I being ridiculous characters and running around.
Dark Side Sexy Walk.
Yeah. Yep. You just we're not going to explain that anymore. You just got to see it. You got to just get the game.
Get the game.
I mean, you've sold me.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I always look forward to that Dark Side. But yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV. I know Mad Men's coming back like within the next week. Of course, Daredevil on Netflix. And
When's that start again? April?
April.
Yes. My birthday present,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah, Netflix. Thank you, Netflix, for such a glorious Man Without Fear.
Maybe that's what we'll do for we'll marathon Back to the Future, and then go to karaoke, and then come back here and watch the first episode of Daredevil.
Or all 13.
Or oh yeah, that's right, because Netflix does all of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
They got Sony and Yahoo beat, I guess, in that regard, because it's what every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday for
Yeah.
Powers.
And Community, same.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday.
Oh man, clashing, but not really. 'Cause you
Going
have
up
all
on a
fucking-
Tuesday.
Man
Yeah.
Without Fear. Dude, Daredevil is going to become the most popular
I'm stoked.
Marvel character for a good bit coming up. I'm calling it. Like
Even with Avengers?
even with the Avengers, because I mean everyone knows the Avengers, but when Daredevil comes out, I'm telling you now, like at the comic shop, there's this vibe now where like every kid wants to know. It's like every kid wants to know about Daredevil. I can't. The amount of Man Without Fear trades. That's an easy trade to sell because it's. I think it's a great book. Some people are like, no, I don't like that one. It's more about Born Again. Born Again's fantastic too.
But that's a little heavy for a kid
Well,
or
no,
a
I mean,
first-time reader.
Well, I'm not saying for like, a 5-year-old comes in and he's like, hey, you go, kid, read about Daredevil.
Yeah.
While you're at it, read Batman or Dark
Yeah.
Knight Returns.
Yeah.
But no. But I mean, like, for people who are of age and they're like, where's your good Daredevil place? And it's a great book. It's a very easy sell because you don't have to read, you don't have to know anything about Daredevil. They tell you about
Well,
Daredevil.
Man Without Fear is an origin story.
Yeah, exactly. And he's wearing the suit that we've seen in the teaser so
The
far.
ninja.
The black suit. Although in the comic, it's very like sweatpant like.
Yeah,
it's
it's
sort
just-
of
he's
like
wearing all
Well, I
black.
mean, not like
Yeah.
he knows,
But yeah, and I am Matt Murdock, the blindest man alive, and
I was stuck in Hell's Kitchen.
the man
Yeah.
without sight.
but he, yeah, there's this vibe, and I and good
Not
for
to
Daredevil.
make fun of blind people.
No, and
I just always found it kind of weird the costume changes that he does. Like, why does he care what he looks like?
He can tell based on the because his
Does he know what
Tactile.
color it is?
yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Like when he switched to the yellow outfit,
Yeah,
and I was like, does he know how ridiculous he looks?
Stan Lee does.
That's
but I
all
mean,
that matters.
and I'm glad for Daredevil. And I haven't read a lot of Daredevil. I mean, I've read mostly, pretty much the only Daredevil I've read is either Frank Miller related or Jeff Loeb related. And
No Mark Waid.
I haven't read Mark Waid. I've read a bit of Bendis.
Bendis is
and I know
awesome.
Bendis is where it's at.
I will say that. I will say this. It isn't until the second story arc where you're just like, holy titties, it's Daredevil,
Where
Ladies
he-
and gentlemen,
I mean, for me,
holy titties, it's your favorite blindest man alive, Matt Murdock.
my favorite blindest man alive is Ray Charles.
Okay, all right.
Inspiration for something by George Harrison.
Oh yeah.
He would always be like, his first wife, Patty Boyd, was like, oh, he wrote that such a beautiful love song for me. And then, granted, this is George Harrison after their divorce. He's like, no, I wrote it for Ray Charles. And it's like, okay, all right.
Or the time Larry King asked Olivia, how does it feel to have a something written about you? And George Harrison didn't even know who she was.
Yeah, they didn't meet
My-
until like 10 years ago.
my thing with that weird face that I was making that Sam was retorting to was that he is no longer the blindest man alive.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
He's been dead for over 10 years, actually.
Stevie Wonder. There.
Oops.
There you go.
We're all
Stevie
better.
Wonder. Stevie Wonder. Steve, have you guys ever heard the album Tug of War, the Paul McCartney album, where
Yes.
he has
No.
2 songs with Stevie Wonder? Of course, Ebony and Ivory. Everyone knows that one.
Of course, yeah.
But the better song. That's right. The better song. What's that you're
Shots
doing?
fired.
What's that you're doing is this funktastic, like, just synth, funky,
Does it
badass
Does it
track between the
funk
two of
you
them. It does.
Yeah, I love McCartney dance music.
Yeah.
Like coming up.
Coming up. The one that got John Lennon, wanted to make music again.
It wasn't Band on the Run.
No.
It wasn't.
It wasn't Temporary Secretary.
Yeah.
If you ever heard that song will drive you insane. And I love that song, but that song will drive you insane.
You listen to it like twice in a row,
and you're done.
Your brain's gone.
You wake up 3 years into the future,
Yeah.
and you're in the world of Madman.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah. It's a song ahead of its time.
drug.
It's a song ahead of its time because like McCartney's like
McCartney
again,
2, right?
Yeah, McCartney 2. Trying to basically
The
create
album cover where he looks like he's just been slapped across the face
by Jim Steranko. And
Just like Bo Bridges.
but it does have the song Waterfalls on it. Don't go chasing. That's a fantastic one. You
Yeah.
know, my
TLC
bastardized bastardized rendition that I just did. But remember Dance? Was it Dance Tonight? The one with Natalie Portman in the music video. It's just him with like a ukulele, or whatever. Just McCartney can just get 1984. Yeah, on Band on the Run. Shake it, don't break it.
But it was coming up that got John Lennon to like be like, I want to make music.
Yeah, I want to make music again. And it is very sweet that his old partner in crime is the one. Because here's how, the Lennon, here we go, talking about the Beatles, but I love it. The thing about the
Never twist my arm on that.
Yeah, that's right. The thing about the Beatles that I love, and I always saw the Lennon-McCartney relationship, very early on, of course, it is very much a songwriting. They are a songwriting team. They're sitting across from each other, mirroring each other, playing the same chords, nose to nose, on your stuff. But then it became very much this idea of becoming competitors, which is what made them better. And so there is a very sweet element that the person who lures John Lennon back into the music world is Paul McCartney.
It can only be
Paul McCartney. Like,
Yeah.
it couldn't have been anybody else. And he goes, there's 5
There
years.
can only be Paul.
Now, granted,
Only
from
be
75 to 80, McCartney made some good stuff. Some stuff I really like. But that was 5 years where anybody could have shocked Lennon back into wanting to make music.
Yeah, like he was friends with Elton John.
Mhm.
Elton John, not even Goodbye Yellow Brick Road could do it.
Yeah, that's right. And he hears coming up probably on the SNL telecast. They did the live telecast of the music video.
Yeah, where they
McCartney
wake
plays.
up McCartney.
Yeah, he's like, well, yep, play the video. They have like an actual person over in like London, like reporting like live.
Yeah, they're like, oh, wake up, Mr. McCartney.
And McCartney's
Introduce
like,
the video.
okay, here's Coming Up by Paul McCartney and Wings.
That's me.
Well, no, just Paul McCartney. It would have been just Paul McCartney.
Yeah, it's just McCartney too.
But and that's Lennon sees that and he's just like Yoko to the bat pole,
Raises the William Shakespeare head in his
yeah,
office.
and you see like Lennon and Yoko punching people into the handshake, classic.
Yeah.
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 I want that sitcom.
Somebody with animation ability, please.
But then you get Double Fantasy, which has some great stuff on it.
Better than Milk and Honey.
Yeah. Some people would say it's his best.
I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't either. I mean,
But you know what? Somebody somewhere, that's their favorite.
Just like Back to the Egg.
I want to meet that person.
Do you though?
I do because I mean,
You want to pick their brain.
I want to sit there. And I want
to find out the worst.
I'm not someone who I wouldn't. I don't want to. I want to have them tell me like. Well, and I don't want to be that person that like, tell me why you like Back to the Egg. I legitimately want to know like.
Who
seriously?
hurt you?
Yeah.
No, but he'd be like, seriously, explain to me why you love Back to the Egg.
Yeah.
I would love to know. Like,
so you can maybe find that kernel that makes you like the album.
Kind of like
Yeah.
what I was asking Josh earlier with Sleepy Hollow. Like,
Yeah.
why?
yeah,
What
because
is that? What's the hook?
I'm very I'm very easy to like if you can find that little tiny thing that like makes something tick, that can get me interested and be like, yeah, you know what, Back to the Egg is cool, or maybe not, but
It's worth it.
yeah. So I'm gonna meet that person. Someone
From now on, whenever anyone asks, that's my favorite.
Back to the Egg.
Yeah,
Back to
just
the
for
Egg.
you. Even though I don't think I've heard a single song off of it.
Well, knowing you will love Back to the Egg.
Knowing me,
Buy it on
knowing
vinyl.
Yeah.
You'll get the CD. It'll be like Lick It Up Part 2.
Yeah.
Lick It Up is so good, man.
That's not. To be fair, Lick It Up is not the worst Kiss album.
Oh
no.
no.
Music from the older.
Well, you know what's funny?
It's no Dynasty, though.
I'm trying to think. My Dynasty.
He slipped
Dynasty
that
has
for a
like
second there. I didn't notice.
Dynasty.
I
Dynasty.
thought he was just going to plow right through and just be like, fuck Chris.
Dynasty.
What's the song on Dynasty?
I don't think I know any.
X-Ray for Loving You.
Yeah.
The song that no one
It's
ever
a great
talks
song.
about. The Kiss song that nobody talks about.
The
is
other disco track.
X-Ray Eyes off of Dynasty. It's like this like weird Beatles shoe-op Gene Simmons number. It's fantastic. But seriously, one of the best. I think they asked Paul Stanley, like, favorite Kiss album, like, and of course, like, before Monster, because that was one of their most recent ones. They asked, like, what's your favorite Kiss album? And one of his seriously favorite, and I think seriously one of their best albums, any lineup, is Revenge.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites has always been Revenge.
That's the one with
Revenge.
What's that? Unholy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unholy starts it off, which you got Vinnie Vincent he's credited on it because he helped write it. But
Yeah.
that lineup is freaking nuts, man. Bruce Kulick on guitar, Gene Simmons on bass, Eric Singer on drums, who's the drummer now as well,
Yeah.
and Paul Stanley on vocals. That's the lineup that gave you Kiss Unplugged. Where
It's
if
like
you
the heaviest Kiss
oh
album.
man, if you don't,
I know,
they have
I'm a big fan of Revenge.
They have the Carr jam at the end where it's a great drum solo tribute because unfortunately Eric Carr had passed away.
It's such a great track too.
Oh, it is. It's really heavy and in your face.
Yeah.
It's from 1981
Yeah.
that they put on a kind of this little nod to him. But it is. It's kind of like they got out of the glam stuff and they're a metal band. And,
Yeah.
they got a grunge sound to them. And there's a Carnival of Souls session kind of afterwards. They never really made like the next album kind of. It was more of this thing. And then, of course, they became
Psycho Circus.
they came back with the makeup and stuff. But Revenge, man, that's an album that I think it's really overlooked because when the makeup is off, it's not that they are a bad band. I don't like the glam kind of big power rock kind of stuff.
Yeah. I know your stance on Def Leppard and Bon Jovi.
Yeah, I like Bon Jovi more than Def Leppard, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan
Whoa.
of those bands.
Shots fired.
I feel like Josh was starting to nod off.
I like
and
Bad.
he just hears that and he's like,
I like
in the studio he just perked up.
Yeah.
I like Bad Medicine
Yeah.
by Bon Jovi. And they're from
Is it-
I'll
Jersey.
allow it.
They're from
Is-
Jersey.
Is it because it's in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Speaking of which, Mallrats 2.
Mallrats 2, man. We're getting Clerks 3. We're getting Mallrats 2. We're getting Jersey Girl 2, maybe. Jersey Woman. Let's hear it.
Finding Amy.
Jersey-
Finding Amy. Amy found.
Yeah.
Credits.
Running from Amy. Chased by Amy.
Yeah. Dude, I can't wait. I can't wait for this to
Amazing
happen.
Amy.
Because if you've ever, I don't know, back when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, there's a great little series of tweets between Ben Affleck and Kevin Smith where Kevin Smith is like,
They used to be tight.
yeah, he's like, hey, Argo was fantastic. I love it. Would you ever want to do my podcast? P.S. We used to work together. And Ben Affleck writes back, I vaguely remember you. I would love. I guess I think I kind of remember you. I would love to do your podcast.
Yeah.
How great would that be if once Batman v Superman is out, that he gets Ben Affleck on Fatman on Batman? That would be the greatest podcast of all
It would
time.
be Batman on Fat Man.
Batman on Fatman.
The sexiest combination.
Yeah.
But, I mean, from what I can tell, the reason...
I hope they make the title something like that.
Well, from what I can tell, the reason they don't hang out anymore is because Jennifer Garner does not get along with Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And so when the missus doesn't like your friends, you got to give up
That's true.
unless you want to
Although
give up the missus.
Ben Affleck did sell Kevin Smith his house, right? He's the house that Kevin Smith's living in is Ben Affleck's.
Before he
Is that before all that?
before he married Jennifer Garner.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was engaged to J-Lo at the time, or somewhere thereabouts. It was like early 2000s.
I do love how much like Kevin Smith still to this day like loves Ben Affleck. Like his famous thing is always
they still get along.
Oh yeah. But I mean like he still like is in his corner, like it's like
even though he's made it and he's
he's
like,
made it, and Kevin Smith. It's not that Kevin Smith's like bitter, but he's still got he's doing his thing, and Ben Affleck's become this other this massive.
If anything, Kevin Smith's gotten his second wind.
Oh, absolutely.
He's making movies. He loves to make movies again.
Yeah, and I'm glad because I was really bummed when he announced years ago that he was
Red
done.
State was it.
Yeah, because I love the View Askew universe. Like I love that.
Well,
that,
not even just the View Askew verse, but Tusk, so far as I can tell,
Yeah.
doesn't exist in the View Askew verse. But it's him going back to making movies he wants to make.
Yeah.
Well,
And apparently has one of the best performances of Johnny Depp in recent history.
It's actually really awesome. I love his performance. in the
I
movie.
thought Tusk was just so he could get the financing for.
it just happened to work that
Three.
way.
Yeah, they saw that he was able to make a multi-million-dollar film. When I say multi-million-dollar,
It was like
$3 million
Yeah.
to make Tusk, and they're like, all right, well, if you can make a movie and still get that much online buzz, here's the financing
Yeah.
for Clerks 3.
It just happened to work that way because I don't think because if you listen to the podcast, this Modcast where he comes up, he's inspired to make the thing of Tusk. He's not like, oh yes, and this will get my because at the time he was still looking at Harvey Weinstein. As far as he was concerned, Harvey Weinstein did the other ones. He'll do the third one, and it kind of came as a shock when Harvey Weinstein was like, no.
Well, they don't get along anymore.
No, they don't. So maybe it wasn't that big of a shock.
Yeah.
But it just, I mean, it
It's a
just
shock to you.
it was a happy accident. I think that Tusk, it didn't make a lot of money, but Kevin, here's the thing about Kevin Smith. Zack and Miri era Kevin Smith would have been devastated by how Tusk performed.
Yes.
Kevin Smith now, rightfully so, is not devastated because he shouldn't be. He made a movie that he knew no one was going to make that movie, and his whole idea and kind of what is the word I'm looking for now? His mantra now is like, if you want to see something get made, go make it.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee it's ever going to get made. You go do it, and that's what he did with Tusk.
My number, and I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. When I'm writing something, I write what I want to read.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a tech journal that nobody gives a fuck about, which I've done, or if it's a cracked article that gets kind of rewritten but is seen by millions of people. I don't give a. What do I want to see? What do I want to read? What do I want to play? What do I want to have? I can't even finish that sentence.
But
in good faith.
But what do you want?
And,
Yes.
when I hear content creators talk about things like that and actually do something like that and don't just put something out that a backer or a studio wants them to do, but really create something they love and adore, I absolutely love that kind of stuff. And in my opinion, usually that's the kind of material that does better.
That's why Mass Effect works, right? Because it was after years of BioWare making the Knights of the Old Republic game, which, to be fair, is a really good game.
Yeah.
But they went and they created their own science fiction IP. They went and created their own thing they wanted. They went and created their own swords
Space opera.
Yeah. They created their own swords and sorcery with Dragon Age. They created
Yep.
their own, kung fu epic with Jade Empire. One of the most underrated games on the original Xbox. By the way, I would love to see a Jade Empire 2 on the Xbox One.
Give it time.
Yeah, we'll see. We did get DuckTales.
Well, now that they know you want it.
Yes. Yes, they'll be like, oh, and then they added their,
Sam Stone wants it.
yeah, they're in their studios in Edmonton, Canada, and they're like, oh, somebody does want to change.
Yeah.
They're just all perking up right now.
Yeah.
I feel a disturbance.
Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, Battletoads is coming back.
Yes, and so is Banjo-Kazooie.
That's the going rumor, I think.
Well, they had a playable. It wasn't a demo so much as a piece of a original Banjo-Kazooie thing you could play at the latest.
I know someone's making a spiritual successor to them.
The developers of the original Banjo-Kazooie games have gone and formed their own studio, and
Right.
it's gonna basically be knockoff Kazooie or
Yeah.
its own thing.
Knockoff Kazooie.
Yeah,
Which,
that should be the name.
there's enough of a fan base out there that wants that and will love it and buy it.
Whatever happened to the creator of Mega Man and his project that was not quite Mega Man but was Mega Man?
It
was
might have just entered developmental hell and just disappeared off to the wayside.
Like Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, that actually did get picked up, released, and
But it did
purchased
take
by me.
forever for it to come out.
About 10 years.
Zing.
Yes, God bless you, Gearbox, for saving that franchise.
Did they save it, though? Is save the first word that comes to your mind?
Well, they are still in
mean, they
ownership of
released
the
the
IP and
Yeah.
do want to do something with it.
Yeah.
So
Save as in they actually saved it, but is it
And
any
released-
better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They saved it. It's a thing.
Yeah, they
It's
released
still
a
alive.
game that didn't exist.
It's
You know,
still alive.
I bought
Remy
it
was
and
like,
played
"Cool,
it knowing
you
what
saved
it
me."
was,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it for
Remy
what it
Zero?
was.
See,
Or
that's
Remy.
all that matters. That's all that matters.
The band that did the theme song for Smallville.
Oh,
Remy Zero?
Remy Zero.
That's crazy that Smallville outlasted that band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
play
just,
at the
it's
end
just
of,
like MASH and the Vietnam War?
Yeah.
Korean.
Yeah.
Korean.
Korean.
Yeah. It's just,
Well, it's about the Korean War, but it was protesting the Vietnam War, and it outlasted the Vietnam War by 8 seasons.
Yep.
So,
Sadly, the
is that
spin-offs
how
did not.
wars are seen
Yeah.
in seasons?
in the network size, sure.
Seasons or theaters, take your pick.
Yeah, seasons of change.
Change of seasons.
Turn.
Yeah, covered by William Shatner. No, he covers Mr. Tambourine Man by the Byrds on The Transformed Man, which I will get him to sign. Yeah, and hey, we're going to mention this again in the future, but Chris and I have tickets to New York Special Edition this June, so if you happen to be in the Big Apple and you want to geek out with us, we'll be, there, bouncing around.
Maybe we'll try to find another one of those creator bar nights like we did at New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
One year. And we'll
Maybe
just hang out there. Maybe I'll get drunk and retell the entire Emerald Twilight saga again.
Maybe you'll hug Ron Mars again.
I would love to.
Just putting that out there.
Maybe I'll bring my comics with me and get him to sign it.
Yeah.
And maybe with luck, I can finally convince these three to make it out to San Diego Comic-Con.
Hey, you get us a press badge, and I'll be there.
Yeah, you pay for the ticket.
Hey, we get big enough, and we can have our own.
Yeah. I'm waiting to hear back from New York Comic-Con if we
I
can
already heard
get
back.
Yeah. Oh well.
Give it time, Sam. Give it time.
Not this year. So, anyway, it's been another installment. Fucking
way to end it on a down note.
yeah. Just like shakes head, like no.
In between sobs.
Somebody, Steranko, save me.
Steranko.
Yes.
One good slap, Sam. That's all you need.
I always need a good slap on my anus. Now, on that note, let's go ahead and close this one out. This has been another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And here's our buddy.
The imaginary friend, Josh.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.